In Carini, at the heart of the ancient Tagliavia estates, in the 16th century, existed a little-known reality. On these land, a feudal property of the Lagrua family, the Gagini were present, the great dynasty of sculptors who left an enduring mark on Sicilian Renaissance art. Here, among vineyards, cultivated fields, and small rural settlements, the Gagini owned and managed their plots of land in accordance with the customs and rites of the time. Within these seemingly silent rural landscapes, noble destinies, power relations, feudal obligations, and the everyday lives of men and women were interwoven, lives that today can only be evoked. It is within this setting, poised between beauty and dominion, that a forgotten page of Carini's history unfolds. Contrary to what is often claimed, it was not Antonello Gagini who had marital ties with a woman from Carini. The bond linking the Gagini to this land is older and deeper, and it begins with Domenico Gagini, Antonello's father. Documentary sources tell us that Domenico, in his first marriage, wed Soprana de Savignoni. Tradition holds that she was originally from Carini, likely because a close relative, or at least an authoritative member of the same family, bore the same surname, Michel de Savignon, archpriest of the old Mother Church of Carini, and a figure of considerable influence within the local community. From this union, between 1469 and 1470, Giovanni, also known as Giovanello, was born, the firstborn of the dynasty. Life in those days, however, was fragile. Soprana died young, and Domenico, left alone, took Caterina as his second wife, the woman who would give the family the son destined to enter history, Antonello Gagini, the sculptor capable of transforming marble into light. It is through these connections, genealogical, emotional, and territorial, that the true bond between the Gagini and the land of Carini emerges. Antonello, once an adult, married Caterina Blasco of Messina. This important union gave him 4 children: Giovan Domenico, Antonino, Giovanella, future wife of the noble Niccolo Trancida, and Giovan Battista, born on the 31st of January, 1509, and who died shortly after birth. Tragedy struck the Gagini household once again in 1514, when Caterina died prematurely. On the 31st of July of that same year, she was buried in the church of San Francesco in Palermo, the place where Antonello himself would later be laid to rest.
Rimasto vedovo,
Left a widower, Antonello entered into a second marriage on the 27th of December, 1515, with Donna Antonina, daughter of Leonardo de Villena, and Costanza Viventi, members of a Palermitan family that owned lands in the territories of Carini and Bagheria. And it is precisely from this marriage that one of the most valuable documents originates, essential for understanding the presence of the Gagini family in Carini. And since in time past, a lawful marriage was contracted between Donna Antonina, a virgin maiden, legitimate and natural daughter of the late Honorable Leonardo Villena, and of Donna Costanza Viventi, and the Honorable Master Antonello Gagini, marble sculptor, as bridegroom. By virtue of the promised dowry and the obligation undertaken by Donna Costanza and her children, 3 vineyard appurtenances situated near the Trapeto in the territory of Carini were assigned. This deed was executed on the 26th of June, 1522, to settle part of the dowry still owed. Present before the notary was Costanza Viventi Villena, mother-in-law of the great sculptor. On that day, she transferred to her son-in-law 3 parcels of land bordering the vineyards of Occinigri, Stanco, the Tucanti, as well as a plot cultivated with sugarcane. From this marriage arose the concrete bond between the Gagini and the territory of Carini, a bond that, originating in a simple notarial act, would become part of the history of one of the most important artistic families of the Sicilian Renaissance. Years later, on the 6th of July, 1527, Antonello Gagini established a partnership with the Palermitan master Matteo Sarzana to ship the wines produced in the Carini vineyards and transport and sell them in Brolo or elsewhere. Brolo was an ancient feudal castle of the Lancia family on the island's northern coast, between Capo Calavar and Capo d'Orlando. In 1536, sensing that death was near, Antonello Gagini dictated his will. It is attested that the Honorable Master Antonello Gagini, excellent sculptor in marble, was of sound mind and intellect. To the children born of his second marriage to Antonina Velena, Giacomo, Fazio, Vincenzo, and Florenza, he assigned the lands of Carini, received as dowry and expanded over the years. He also left them other properties, one in the territory of Partinico, in the fief of the abbot of the park, and another in the fief of Borghetto, already in his possession before 1517, as well as lands belonging to the monastery of San Martino. To the children of his first marriage to Caterina Blasco, Domenico, and Antonino, Antonello instead reserved his finest Palermitan properties in Via Gambino, in the Cassaro district of Palermo. He left them a large house and, nearby, another building with ground floor, upper floor, and garden. In the adjoining quarter, also on Via Gambino, stood a third property purchased by Master Gagini from Donna Euphemia Recrescenz. Antonello also bequeathed a house in Messina, located near the dwellings that had belonged to his late father-in-law, Pietro Blasco. This property, received as part of his wife's dowry, he had preserved and passed on with all its rights and revenues intact. The inventory drawn up after Antonello Gagini's death regarding his Carini estate is striking a vivid snapshot, almost suspended in time, of the daily labor that animated this great property. From those dry notarial lines, an entire world emerges. We read of one large cart and two additional carts, one of them in disrepair. Vehicles that traveled the dusty roads between Carini, Palermo, and church building sites, hauling marble blocks destined to become altars, statues, and portals. There were also 18 working oxen of various coats and brands, indispensable for pulling the heaviest loads. 10 donkeys, male and female, large and small, suited to the most difficult terrain, and several horses, necessary for swift movement between fiefs, warehouses, and work sites. Yet living close to the sea, in an age when Sicilian coasts were scourged by Ottoman corsairs, meant living daily with the fear of sudden raids. For this reason, the inventory records 2 muskets and 2 arquebuses, long firearms kept ready for defense. Concrete signs of a Renaissance that was not only art and beauty, but also tension, vigilance, and precarity. Working the fields and tending the animals required a labor force composed of farmhands and seasonal workers, but not only them. Among the final entries of the document, almost hidden, appear 2 figures forgotten by history. 2 enslaved men, one named Parisi, about 20 years old, and the other, Cesare, about 26. Drawn into Sicily along Mediterranean routes, they labored daily in the shadows to sustain the estate and the enterprises of the great sculptor. 2 years after his father's will, on 29 August 1538, Giacomo Gagini, barely 20 years old, married in Palermo Francischella d'Aquino, daughter of Gerardo and Lucrezia d'Aquino. This marriage bound him not only to an influential family, but also to a new economic venture. On the 16th of May 1543, Giacomo and his father-in-law founded a 6-year partnership for the trade of barley, musts, and wines produced in Carini. The invested capital was substantial, 300 ones, 150 from each partner. It was an ambitious project, but fate took another course. Economic difficulties rapidly overwhelmed Giacomo. His father-in-law, fearing involvement in his son-in-law's financial troubles, chose to dissolve the partnership. The act was formalized on the 27th of December, 1543. Shortly thereafter, the situation worsened. Giacomo's assets were seized by the captain and judge of Carini at the request of the magnificent Michel Magnier, and Giacomo Gagini was imprisoned in the Castello Amare in Palermo. This dark phase, however, did not last long. Having partially resolved his debts and reached an agreement with his creditors, Giacomo regained his freedom. Once released, he resumed his work as a sculptor, slowly returning to life and to the art that had brought renown to the name of the Gagini. But what works connected to the Gagini remain today in Carini? Of Giacomo Gagini, son of the great Antonello, one indelible sign survives. On the 10th of September 1561, Giacomo received a prestigious commission from the magnificent Giliberto La Grua, a half-round bas-relief depicting the Madonna of Grace. An expression of the master's full artistic maturity, this work is still visible today in the presbytery of the Church of Maria Santissima del Rosario. To the right of the high altar, a silent masterpiece that has endured through the centuries as testimony to the Gagini presence in the territory and to the profound bond between art, devotion, and local history. But what is the most important Gagini work connected to the history of Carini? The most significant masterpiece is located in the La Grua family chapel, beneath the high altar of the Mother Church of Carini. It is an extraordinary work by Antonino Gagini, son of Antonello's first marriage and the true heir to his father's immense artistic legacy. Described with remarkable precision in contemporary documents, the work is the mausoleum of Pietro III La Grua, firstborn son of Baron Vincenzo La Grua and Laura Lanza, who died tragically at only 14 years of age. The monument was commissioned on the 10th of November 1566, 1 year after Don Vincenzo was finally cleared of the charge of murdering his wife and Ludovico Vernagalli. Delivery took place on the 17th of December 1569, only after the Baron, through the intermediary Francesco Arangiotta, compelled Antonino Gagini to complete the sculpture well beyond the 8 months stipulated in the original contract. But this work deserves a discussion of its own, and that will come on another occasion.